always refreshing when you meet someone like you that is genuinely very nice and appreciative of your fans. And so you are the genuine. you were the genuine article. But thank you very much for coming to Fan Expo here in Vancouver. It's very cool to have you here.
You know, for people that don't know, I assume most people do, but we film in Vancouver, so it just seemed like a natural fit.
Teeth into this thing.
Yeah, Hung was actually one of the shows that got me Arrow, because I had played a lot of villains and a lot of guys that reminded David Nutter, who directed our pilot, of the darker side of the Oliver Queen character. But then I played Jason on Hung, and he was this lovable, goofy, naive hooker, and it was that side of my personality that really attracted David Nutter to me. So Hung got canceled in December. I was working on Private Practice, and that was going great, and they were starting to involve my character more in the storylines, and then I got cast in Arrow, and I was quickly mugged on Private Practice and sent packing.
When you
I was not familiar at all. I had never seen Smallville. I was a huge. I mean, I was always a DC guy growing up. I went through a comics phase where I read a lot of Lobo. I read a lot of Superman. I read a lot of Superman. I read a lot of Spawn, which I know is not. DC, but then I got to work with Michael Jai White eventually, so that was cool. But no, I was not familiar.
Yeah.
I became familiar after the pilot. I waited until after the pilot to really get into the reading.
Now I know that you do a lot of your own stunts on this show, pretty much all of it, almost. It's
I do much more than they are comfortable with me doing. Yeah.
And when I watch the behind the scenes and I see you doing these choreographed fights, I genuinely worry about you, because I think you're gonna get hurt really bad at on one of these shows at some point.
We are very thorough in preparing me for stunts. There's some that they just won't let me do, as much as I complain. But you know, the only time that I ever really hurt myself is when you're doing these choreographed fights. Obviously, when you swing and you hit something, you're not actually punching the person. And what ends up happening is you swing as hard as you can with your right hand, you don't hit anything, and then all the blood shoots into your fingers, and it just throbs and throbs and throbs, and then all the muscles in your back hurt. But no, I've been pretty lucky with injuries so far. Bumps and bruises, and my shin and calf were really distorted at one point last year, but I've been pretty lucky.
When you have like a big complicated fight scene, do they give you a day of rest, like after you have to go through? Because that's a lot of choreography. They never do. No. On to the next thing.
On to the next.
Wow.
No, it's when we have a big fight scene, our fight choreographer, James Bamford, the stunt team, my double Simon, John Kralt, his sort of stuntman extraordinaire, they will film what they call previs for the fight, and I mean, they really do it up, because they cut the whole thing together and they ship that off to the editor, and that's actually how they assemble our fights. It's how they assemble our very best fights, because the guys that are making them know what's going to look best on camera. And the videos are really funny. Some of them go online. What you don't see online is you don't see the stunt doubles delivering some of the worst acting you will ever see. You have failed the city. Well, I mean, yeah, I have all of my favorite moments. You know, I like watching the show. You know, as a fan, I like seeing the reveals that don't involve my character. Like, I loved when Slade Wilson showed up in The Present this year. I thought that was a really cool moment. And if I'm spoiling it for you, you're at the wrong panel. But no, I've had a bunch of favorite moments this year. We actually have a series of flashbacks coming up in the episode that's actually airing this Wednesday. And the flashbacks are from 7 years prior to when our story is taking place right now. It's the furthest that we've ever gone in the flashbacks. We got to shoot a series of scenes that are some of my favorites. But you have your favorite moments. It's difficult to think about what they are right now because we just wrapped the second season on Friday morning. So I'm just sort of putting all of it into perspective. Both of the things that you have mentioned are things that are a super interesting aspect of the show. I would love the Oliver Queen character to be a little bit more of a public figure. I like playing that character, and I think that at some point on the show it would be great for Oliver to just announce that he's the Green Arrow and then look at everybody and say, "What are you going to do about it?" I mean, that would be a really interesting twist that we could play. With the pilot, it was really important that I trust David Nutter in particular, who is the greatest pilot director in the history of modern television. I mean, I think he's had, if The Flash goes to series, that'll be his 17th pilot taken to series. He did Arrow, Supernatural, Smallville, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, The Mentalist, The X-Files. The list goes on and on and on. And he knows how to craft an episode that introduces characters, tells an interesting story, and makes the audience want to watch another 199 episodes of the show. So it just behooved me to listen to everything that he said. And I'll never forget, our very first day filming was the scene where I'm being interrogated, and if this is a spoiler, definitely don't want to pay. I was being interrogated, and he had this very, very specific directive that when I finally make the change and I tell these guys that I'm going to kill them, it's like, I want you to look up. I want you to look up very, very slowly and really tilt your eyes up. He said, this will be the image that is a transitional moment in the trailer. Like, he already knew these things, having not even gotten a piece of my coverage yet. So I just listened to David and crossed my fingers and hoped it didn't suck. The first year, maybe our fourth or fifth episode, I was supposed to be having this the show was incredibly serious at the beginning, and I was supposed to be having this very serious moment, and David Ramsey was supposed to come up and whisper something to me. And it wasn't even scripted what he was supposed to whisper, it was just him passing me information, and he said the filthiest thing in my ear that I've ever heard in my entire life. And it was like, we didn't even break into telling jokes on set. We went from 0 to 100 in this horrible, horrible thing that he said in my ear that I will never forget for the rest of my life, and that I will not repeat right now. And from that point forward, we've just been a group that likes to have fun. I mean, shooting a season of the show is 189 shoot days for us, and some of them are fun. Most of them are fun, some of them are tedious, and some of them you're really incredibly tired. And if you don't have a good inter-cast relationship and a good relationship with the crew and the people that you're spending all this time with, then I pity any show like that. So we try to have fun. Not as fast as I do on the show. I mean, one of the unfortunate things about a show with respect to archery is there is no safe way to shoot a bow and arrow. I mean, with guns are safe. You clear the gun, you shoot blanks, you add in a muzzle flash after in post-production. With arrows, I'm grabbing nothing, I'm knocking nothing, and I'm firing nothing. We have like a 12-page safety bulletin when it comes to bows and arrows on set. So I practice in my off time so that all the elements of archery that should be there are there, but I can't quite pull and knock that fast. No, that would act. No, that's actually a superpower.
Thank you very much.
Called visual effects. Thank you. Oh, you know what? I don't mind the rain because it's awful to film in, but really bad weather looks really good on screen. And so, we'll have shots where, they'll light it so that sometimes you can't tell that it's raining, and then sometimes they'll light it so that it looks like a torrential downpour. And no, I've become very comfortable and found a really nice home in Vancouver. It's, my family, we go to Whistler, sometimes on the weekends in the summer. We are going to go explore in Kelowna this year, I think. I mean, we've become big fans of British Columbia, and I'm Canadian, but I had never actually set foot in Vancouver, save for like one weekend before it actually came up and started shooting here. So it's been a really neat experience.
Okay.
Do I grow that terrible hair at the beginning of the season? No. The flashbacks happen. As we shoot the episodes. I actually had a couple of days this year where I started the day as Island Oliver. I got the wig off and whatever off. I went into present day Oliver, and then I actually had to change into the aero suit and shoot scenes. So it keeps me focused and attentive to what's going on in the story. I didn't know a great deal about Harley Quinn until Harley Quinn, or some iteration thereof, was on the show, and the internet exploded. And I know that was a really exciting moment for the producers of the show, who are big fans of not only DC, but particularly the Batman universe. And I think having Harley Quinn on the show, and it was Harley Quinn, was awesome. I hope to see her again. It's working with DC has been great, because when they're kind of like the parents and you're kind of like the new kid that just got his license. And in the first season, they're like, yeah, we'll let you take the car out, but we're coming with you and you can only go around the block. And in the second season, it's been more like, here are the car keys, don't stay out too late, don't dent it or do anything. And I feel like we've taken care of the car so far. To take that analogy forward, maybe they will buy us our own car soon. But it's been great. Any time that we can bring in the DC universe and make the show richer that way, it serves everybody. It's very cold and very wet. That was our biggest scene together. I was freezing and he was dumping water on me and I was chained up. It's been great. Having John on the show, and it got announced recently, he's coming back towards the latter part of our season, has been great, because he was so generous to me and so giving, and I was able to go to him for advice when we were shooting the episode where he's revealed as the Dark Archer. We shot all night in this warehouse, and the setups were very particular, so we had a lot of downtime. And I just got to bounce a ton of questions off him, and he was so generous and funny and thoughtful with his responses. It's been a huge help for me. So having him on the show, I just hope I get to work with him more. We haven't done enough stuff together, so it's been great though.
My friends and I often play a drinking game while we're watching Arrow. The rules include...
I can't publicly endorse this, you understand, right? Okay.
The rules including whenever you take your shirt off, anytime someone said this 5 years ago, season 1, whenever you kill the dude.
Right.
But my question was, do you have any suggestions for new rules we can add to our drinking game?
Remember, you're not endorsing this.
My first question for you is, based on that criteria,
Very drunk.
how are you still alive? Tell you what, somebody posted a I actually put it on my Facebook page. Someone wrote out an arrow drinking game, okay? Somebody find it, please post it, and I'll repost it for ideas that I'm not actually endorsing, but I think that that's really fun. It's, and anytime, being serious, as someone that has been known to enjoy an adult beverage or two myself, and anytime people watch the show and there's some sort of community involved, it really means a lot. Whether it's friends creating a game, or it's mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, families, whatever. That's one of the coolest things to hear. So thank you. Andrew Kreisberg, who's one of our executive producers, is a massive, he's a massive fan of the show and fan of Green Arrow. Wrote Green Arrow comic books before there was a Green Arrow television show. And he always wants that stuff. Like, in our 5th episode, I made a joke about Katie being in fishnets, and I've never seen somebody so happy in their entire life as when he heard that dialogue delivered for the first time in the table read. He literally pumped his fist. So, all of the iconic elements of the Green Arrow character, and yes, I would include the boxing glove arrow in that iconography, I would imagine at one point or another they will be on our show. I don't know, man. I don't know. I know that I talked about this well before. When we got permission to bring Barry Allen onto the show, we had to get permission at Warner Brothers, through Warner Brothers in DC, all the way to Chris Nolan, who's he's the godfather of the feature side of DC Entertainment. So I would love to be a part of the DC universe across television into film, but I don't want it to seem like that will justify the show. I want the Arrow show to stand on its own, and then from there forward, whatever happens, happens. But that'd be pretty cool.
You should all write DC right now. Tell them.
Stuff like that matters. Thank you. I met a guy yesterday. His name was it Connor? Is he here? May not be Connor. He got the dragon tattoo on his shoulder, on his back left shoulder, the tattoo that I have that Shadow has as well. And there he is. How you doing, man? What was your name? Brian. Ryan. That was awesome and weird, but awesome. But that suggests that weird is actually a bad thing. I like weird. Weird is my ballpark. So that's the fact that you got that tattoo is pretty cool. I haven't signed it yet. Later. Attaboy. The compound is cooler in so much as when you pull the compound back, it basically settles there. So if I'm interrogating somebody in a scene and having to hold it back, my arms don't start shaking by the 4th take. The compound is also meaner for fighting, like punching people in the face. But the recurve was cooler for doing superfluous, unnecessary tricks. like twirling it around my hand or something like that. I missed the recurve. The recurve was more fun. The compound is meaner. I was in Toronto in 2009, and I had been acting for 4 or 5 years with sort of intermittent success. I met a couple of Rent-A-Goalie fans here too, which was fun. There you go. All right, they're both here. Anyway, I had sort of middling success, and then I got out of a very long-term relationship and decided that I was going to take stock of the things in my life that were really important to me. And the list basically boiled down to family, friends, and acting. Really love acting. And shortly thereafter, I moved to Los Angeles. I got to Los Angeles February 1st, 2010, and I got cast as Oliver Queen February 1st, 2012. So that was it. That was the moment. What's a brony?
It is something.
That's a whole other panel, man. My Little Pony fans.
Oh, My Little Pony fans? Oh, definitely a brony. Definitely a brony.
That's true.
I was doing all the parkour just for the one parkour sequence that we have in the pilot, because that was one of the first things that was written in. Oliver does parkour. And while I was there, our director, David Nutter, again, he found out that the salmon ladder was at this gym that I was training at. He just asked me if I could do it. I guess. And no, and it came pretty quickly. I didn't used to go to the gym before I got cast as Oliver, and the one thing that I had in my apartment in Hollywood was a chin-up bar. So I was really good at the chin-up aspect, and then the whole taking the bar off the rung and putting it to another bar thing came pretty quick. It's like a dance move. I had never done archery before. I did it one time. I was like 12 years old, and that was one of the very first things that I did when I got to Vancouver. I got to Vancouver about 3 or 4 weeks before we started shooting the show, and Patricia Gonsalves, who's the archery coach, we worked together every day. And the very first thing that she did, I've told this story a bunch of times, but it remains funny to me, is she sat me down and showed me a really long mashup of all the ways that archery has been done incorrectly in film and television. And she just announced that I would not be doing that. And apparently there is a derogatory term in the archery community called Legolosing. And Patricia has she's not, I'd like her to be scared of me, but she's not. She comes up to me at like 3 o'clock in the morning when we're doing a fight sequence and I'm exhausted and yells at me to get my elbow up, or just, she's very, very nitpicky in the best possible way. I'm glad that she's there.
I'm sorry, there's no personal questions.
What is oh God, there's the one, Rebellious Tomato. Okay, just in general, it's a Vancouver pizza joint. Tell them I sent you, maybe they'll give me a discount eventually. It's really expensive. Rebellious Tomato is good. I like, chicken? I like a good gluten-free crust, otherwise, if they can do it, it's a big thing for me. Pineapples. Tomatoes, lots of meat, stuff like that. What's the funniest? I mean, just with Arrow, just goofing around. I mean, David Ramsey and I'm really not sure how we ever get anything done. You know, we're just constantly goofing on each other and going back and forth. And it's with respect to Blue Mountain State, the episodes that you saw, all my scenes with Alan Richardson, who played Aquaman at one point, I think, all that stuff is not scripted. All that stuff, when he's singing to me and saying, best friends for life, and stuff like that, that was not in the script. And I'm just trying not to laugh. Contractually, I can't pick Batman.
But he's the best.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You know what? The Riddler. I always liked the Riddler growing up, and you know, it hasn't been done in the modern incarnation of of the Batman world, unless you consider 1995 modern, which I do not. And although I did like Batman Forever when it came out, it hasn't aged very well, but I liked it when it came out. And yeah, the Riddler. Two very different questions. You know, it's very important when you're playing a character to not do an impersonation of what anybody else has done. So it was incredibly important for me to just focus on what was on the page for the pilot, what I knew about the character. It's up to me to create a backstory that doesn't even exist on the page. And as far as Oliver and Felicity goes, I mean, it's just cool that the fans, that a segment of the fans for the show want it to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen, man. I don't know these things.
Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say.
Hey, Stephen.
Hi. Boy, people love the Nightwing character. They love it a lot. So I don't know. It depends on what DC would let us do. I know that if we got the green light to use Nightwing, he would be written into an episode in like 2.3 seconds. So we'll see. Well, that's actually what we've been really trying to explore in the series. You know, through our first season, it was revenge. And through our second season, it's trying to become a hero, doing it to honor people. I think the thing that we get into with the Arrow character, and the good thing is with our show is that as we move through it, there's an idea of moving more towards the iconography of the character that people know from the comic books. Whether or not that includes a weird goatee, I'm not sure. But I would say that the thing that separates Oliver Queen from Bruce Wayne would be political motivation and the interest in making a difference in a public forum as Oliver Queen. I think the Bruce Wayne character is sort of relegated to just that playboy persona. He never really steps out as somebody that is interested in the greater good as Bruce Wayne, the public figure. I think Oliver will eventually on the show.
Just to close this out, I'm curious because this is obviously a big fan convention and people are here because of what they love and they love you and they love the show. What's the thing that you geek out about? What's the thing that like you love as a fan?
I really love to see how people react to the show. John Barrowman always told me that the difference between a second season and a first season in terms of how invested people are in the show is like night and day. And it has been. It's been really motivating and incredible to see how invested people have become in the show. And when I meet people and they bring me a drawing, or you know they have such a particular question or a theory about the show, or they post something to my Facebook page that is obviously a lot of thought and effort has gone into it, it makes a 189-day shooting season feel like a walk in the park. We know on the show, from the top level to the production assistant who's getting paid minimum wage, we know how important the fan base is and how we would have no show to make if we didn't have people to watch it. So that's what I geek out over. I geek out over people loving the show.
Thank you,
Thank you, everybody.